Hey guys, I am back in the closet here and I have a special guest with me, Grandma Jackie. When I started this whole thing, I wanted to share my story of motherhood and mental health and everything in between. And I always thought it was kind of a goal for me to share others' stories as well. I have always said that we all have different journeys, but the hope is that we can find similarities and commonalities that we can feel more like we're not alone. So here I am with my mother, Jackie, and she's here to tell us a little bit about her story and her journey. So take it away, Mom.
Hi, I'm Jackie. Been married 46 years, raised 4 girls, Terry being our third. I was a full-time working mom, retired about 7 years ago. My interests are the grandkids, keeping up with them, and I like to golf. And we spend quite a bit of time, as much as we can, together as family.
So you had 4 girls, and it was 4 girls within 4.5 years. You recently told me that you thought that worked in your favor. Tell me how so.
Well, by having 4 girls and no boys in the mix where we had to kind of split up a lot, the girls were all close in age. We were going the same, they had the similar interests. They were going the same places kind of at the same time. So I think that served in our favor.
Yeah, I can get that because mine's not like that. So I could understand how that'd be beneficial. If my memory serves me correctly, we were like the best of friends, but also the worst of enemies. Like I remember Jamie, my younger sister, we were so close in age that we had kind of the same group of friends, and we were competitive in sports. And so for me, especially in high school, being the older one, I think it kind of lent itself to some jealousy issues. But that was more on me than her. Anyways, Mom, tell me about your postpartum experiences.
I never had any problems conceiving, never had any miscarriages or difficulties during my pregnancies. I took 8 weeks off with each of you from work when you were babies. Would have taken more, but lack of time off at work and lack of financial resources, that just couldn't happen.
Did you have any postpartum struggles or anything like that? What was the hardest part about motherhood for you?
Having the second one was the biggest issue for me. I think it was just because figuring out how to manage 2 and having extra hands around all the time. But after the second one, it was just like the third and fourth were just a little bit more of everything.
I hear people say that a lot. I still think it adds a little bit more struggle personally, but maybe that's just me. So tell me about, we have a few notes here to help us, get through this. So, sorry. Tell me about what raising 4 kids was like in the time period you did.
Well, with the 4 girls, there was a total of 4.5 years when the 4th one was born. And it was exhausting. I was a full-time working mom, had to be to work at 8 o'clock. I was tired all the time. I remember at work I had a paragraph taped to a note holder I had where I saw it all the time. And I can't give credit because I don't know for sure where it came from, but it said, sometimes you're exhausted and you don't want to do this anymore. And then you look around and there's nobody else to do it.
If that's not the epitome of suck it up buttercup, I don't know what is. Like it's sad because that's like the mantra of a lot of women even now. It's just like, suck it up. There's no one else to do it. So here we go.
And when we did things, we did it together. I had to have your dad with 4 little ones. We just did things together, whether it was a grocery store, we'd get in the car and ride around, but that was pretty much it.
That's funny because we try to do the exact opposite, where John tries to take a couple kids, I try to take a couple kids, or one of us tries to keep them all home while one goes and does something. So divide and conquer is more our style, but congratulations on that. What was it like being, what was your day-to-day like at home?
Day to day, my husband worked construction, so he was up and gone in the morning before we were really up and around to speak of, before you kids were. So the morning would be, I tried to allow 2 hours to be before I had to be anywhere. An hour for me, and then an hour for you girls. Had to get you up, fed, to the sitter, and supposed to be to work by 8 o'clock. And it was a challenge.
Did you do it successfully, like most of the time?
Yes, wow. We did. Yeah, I did.
So am I correct in thinking that back at that time, men generally didn't help a whole lot?
It was a lot different back then. Men and husbands weren't expected, and just didn't in general help like the men and husbands do these days.
Yeah.
So.
I clearly remember Dad, we would get home from school and Dad would come home shortly after, and he would take his time and get cleaned up and relax. And by the time you got home, you came home at like clockwork at the same time every day. And it was like, what's for supper? Hurry up, Mom, I'm hungry. And you just had to go straight into supper mode from work mode. And I just, I'm sorry. Yeah, that is definitely something I remember.
It's part of raising kids.
Yeah. So was mental health a big topic? Was it talked about, known about, like when you were having babies? Was that a thing?
If it was, I sure did not hear about it. I never really heard, didn't know many other people, but didn't know anything what I would call mental health. If anything, you might hear about somebody having postpartum depression, and I really never knew what that meant, but it was, you just figured things out. I never heard much about it.
That's wild. That's wild to me, because I would be willing to put money on it that there was a lot more going on inside the home for women than was talked about. Like, there had to have been.
I would agree with that, probably.
So I've always been pretty open about my mental health and my postpartum struggles and stuff. Was it obvious to you when I was having problems? Like, what did you see in me, like, when I was struggling bad?
Well, it was pretty obvious. When I'd get phone calls, you were in tears, could hardly talk. And it would always end up being, can you come over?
Mm-hmm.
And the tears, I mean, it was just, you couldn't talk straight. Then when we would have family times together, your sisters were there, everything, just in conversation. I mean, to just break down crying with tears.
Yeah.
So it was pretty obvious.
Yeah. I remember the very first phone call that I made to you guys. John must have been away out of town because it was just me, and then Isla was probably 1.5, and Lane was just a few months old, so just after the second baby. And I was home alone with them, and it was evening time, and for whatever reason I was just in a panic and I couldn't get it together. But I remember calling, and I'm not sure where you were, if you were gone or if you were doing something. You couldn't come over, but Dad jumped in the car and came as soon as he could, like just to sit with me. It's not like, I mean, Dad wasn't there to like take care of the baby while I slept or something. Like he just came over. He just came over to be with me so I didn't feel alone. I believe I have a picture of that night, which I will maybe post a picture here in this area. But that was a night that I definitely remember needing help with. So something that's taken me a little while to figure out is how to ask for help, and that it's okay to ask for help. You did a lot of the child rearing kind of on your own. You had a lot of those responsibilities on your plate. Did you have a village? Like, did you ask for help? Were you good at asking for help? Did you have people around you?
My answer to that would be no. Both sets of our parents were 100 miles away. So we were fairly new to the neighborhood, fairly new to the area. Mm-hmm. We did have one couple when we bought our first house that lived right across the street, had 4 kids that were very similar in age to our kids. So we were just kind of back and forth, did some things with them together. But that was probably all I could call my village at the time.
A house in survival meets
Yeah.
a house in survival. You did it together.
That was about it.
Well, that's better than nothing. So social media is a big thing right now, full of parenting information and full of what could be good things, bad things. But I do feel like it's a big source of judgment and shame for young moms these days. What are your thoughts on that? And like, where did you get your parenting tips?
Well, first of all, social media can be a good thing, but it can be a not so good thing. You have to be able to discern what is appropriate for you, as well as where your information's coming from. We didn't have social media. My go-to was a family psychologist by the name of John Rosemond, and he had a lot of parenting articles that he wrote in newspapers. He wrote books. He did parenting seminars, which I did attend one of his seminars in Des Moines. But that was where we got our information.
I 100% recall vividly, like, you would open our pantry doors in the kitchen, and the inside of the door was just plastered with articles about parenting. And his face, this John Rosemond, was half the articles. My parents still have that pantry in their garage with all the articles still there, and I think I have pictures that I can show you. So yeah, I definitely recall all those parenting tips and tricks as well. So what are some of your general thoughts on raising kids now, or when you were raising kids versus like watching us raise our kids now?
We have 14 grandkids, ranging from age 12 down to 3 years old. and we function on noise and chaos.
Yes, we do.
Always a lot of activity when we're all together. But really, truly enjoyed watching you girls become mothers, become parents, and how you manage the kids day to day, incident to incident. And I see similar problems now, just a little different. Back when we were raising kids, it was trying to minimize TV time, go outside and play. And of course now that's more get off the screen time, get off the electronics.
Yep.
The problems never go away, they just change. I have always said, and you guys will also experience this, that you are only ever as happy as your saddest child. If they struggle, you struggle right along with them.
I can totally get that. I guess, so what do you think about me putting all of this out there?
Well, I think from a mental health standpoint, if this is able to help anybody, I say go for it. You got to do what works for you. And if you need help, I just encourage anybody to get the necessary help they need.
Yeah.
More resources are available now. So.
Definitely. So when I started this, I had no goals. I had no idea what it would become or where it would go. I just wanted to do it. But after the first couple of videos that I posted, the number of personal messages and people contacting me individually, and just thanking me or telling me their stories, that right there was all worth it. Like, that was all it took for me to say, okay, I'll keep going. And yeah, my goal was always to share other moms' stories as well. So if you want to share your story, just send me a message. Contact me and we can talk about it. What?
My final comment is, parenting is hard. Don't give up.
It is hard. Don't let people fool you. It's hard. All right, well, stay tuned. More to come. See you next time. So I wanted to jump back on real quick to say a huge thank you to Mama Jacki, Grandma Jacki, I guess. She's been a huge rock in my life and always there for me to lean on, to call when I need help, to cry, a shoulder to cry on a lot. Grandma Jacki was not so sure about all this. She said multiple times, this is not my comfort zone. And I am just very grateful that she was willing to come on here and talk with me. So if you see Grandma Jacki in real life, give her a pat on the back. She did an awesome job filming and in life. So like I said, stay tuned. Until next time. Loosen up. You can smile. You're allowed to smile. You're allowed to. Yeah. Okay.
You got me out. You got me out of my
no.
comfort
I'm glad.
zone.
I'm glad I've got you out of your comfort zone. Okay.